Good evening and welcome to a very special New Year's Eve edition of Moen After Dark with your host, Moth Moen and Immaculate.
It's quite a haircut you got there. This might be
This
your best
is
one.
this is what the members voted on. This is what the members wanted. Let it never be said I don't love this community and love this show. Um,
Got to give them what they want.
yeah, giving them what they want. Uh, yes, it's a Mothman costume from Appalachia, the famed Mothman of Pleasant Point, West Virginia. The members voted on this. It's the Mothmo and Prophecies. Here I am. I got my wings out. So this is just to show you what membership privileges you get here at Big 12 Mafia. We have fun. I don't have fun, but you guys get to have fun with this one.
He's roasting right now, guys.
But I am going to pull the gator down now, or at least pull it down where my nose can breathe out of it. And let's talk about some stuff here, Immaculate. We were just talking before we went on the air about the bowl season situation. What are your thoughts on it?
I think, well, I hate tooting the horn, but I really did want to say to folks to be watchful because the Orange Bowl was going to change things. We're talking about a very visible, big game, 5 and 6, and it was going to be absolutely terrible, and that's how it turned out to be. A lot of people talking about it, saying how this proves everything, this and that. I kind of think a lot of people saying that maybe haven't played football before, because there's a certain thing that matters when you're playing football, and that's your mentality. You can have two teams that are absolutely equal, but if one of the teams doesn't want to be there and the other team does, has something to prove, the other team feels like they proved everything and they got nothing for it, you're going to have a very lopsided game. That's what we got. And we had some other ones too we could go into as well. But overall, I think this was a big wake-up call for the business of college football to say, we have a limited amount of time. This is going to go downhill once even more of your better schools are involved in the CFP. The rest of the bowls are going to be even less valuable. And I think that this is a step in the direction of them becoming less relevant.
I don't disagree. Damn it. I don't disagree. The Orange Bowl in particular was probably the worst of the worst. I don't think for the Ohio State game, yeah, it was an exciting game to watch, but Ohio State didn't get boat raced either. They lost by 11 to the SEC East runner-up. So disappointing, obviously, that your true freshman can't come in there and win a game for you, your third-string quarterback. But I completely understand it. But all these opt-outs, all these transfers, all the coaching changes, the Penn State game in particular, Manny Diaz leaving. Just absolutely, because that team was built on nothing but defense. And Drew Aller just could not keep up with Ole Miss's offense. So another game. So, I mean, these New Year's Six Bowls, outside of the semifinals, I don't know that I'm really excited to see any of them. Obviously, you with Iowa playing tomorrow in the Citrus Bowl, that'll be one for you. But, I mean...
But we actually have our whole team showing up.
You've got your team showing up. Great.
So I understand that that's not the usuals. So I don't look at that and go, well, this will be a good game. I mean, it's a good game for Iowa fans. If you're a Tennessee fan, you're probably thinking you're going to win just because you're Tennessee and Iowa's Iowa. But I think that that's going to be, for most people, a very boring game.
Yeah, I mean, even the Missouri-Ohio State game, Ohio State only sold 2/3 of their allotment of tickets. Ohio State fans just, if it's not a national championship game, they don't want to go anymore. They were expecting the playoffs and they just didn't get it. But as of today, I think the Big Ten is still ahead in the bowl rankings. They have a winning percentage of 667. They are 4-2 in the bowl season. But their two marquee teams outside of Michigan have lost. Ohio State lost. Penn State lost.
Yep.
What do you think Iowa's chance is tomorrow?
Oh, I think Iowa wins. The people don't follow Iowa as closely as me for obviously, they have a lot of guys coming back. They don't have anyone opting out. Of all their guys that could go to the pros, both tight end Lachey and their star linebacker Higgins, who could have probably easily been in the first 3 rounds of the draft, have both already declared that they're coming back next year. Now we're expecting some more announcements like that after the bowl game. So their whole team is back. I don't necessarily expect to see much better offense, except for the fact that I don't think Tennessee is really all that great of a defensive team. I don't know exactly how many guys maybe they've lost from the defense, but if there's a time for Iowa offense to at least be reasonable, it'd be this time. And I think that their defense is probably going to be stellar, which is not usual for, in the bowl season right now where teams are playing top notch. Georgia did because they had something to prove. And I dare say so does Iowa. So I think Iowa will win that game. It won't be high scoring, but it'll get done.
Trust me, after the Ohio State-Missouri game, anything's going to look high scoring. When you get to the fourth quarter with only 3 points on the board, that's...
Well, Ohio State's defense was great.
Yeah.
The only offense they had was their quarterback running the ball. But eventually, when your offense does not at least hold on to the ball for a long enough time, your defense will get tired.
Yeah.
And, you're not even really playing for something. If it's during the season, you're playing for something. But, they had lost guys, so they don't have as many backups to come in and give rests. And that defense just wore out. And, Missouri then scored. Unfortunately, your guys' freshman quarterback didn't do much, but the guy probably didn't even take any snaps in practice that were actual Ohio State plays. He was probably just the scout team quarterback who had to learn the plays of the opposing team. So he didn't really look like he knew any plays at all. And what can you do with that? I wouldn't judge them on that.
Yeah, and they had a really great trick play in the second half with the Buka running the reverse into a pass, but it didn't pan out the way they wanted it to. Let's get to some business and say hello to some people here. This is Moen After Dark. This is where we interact with the fans a lot more. Would like to thank everybody for joining us. We got 35 viewers on the stream today. If you could, give us a like. If you have not subscribed yet, give us a subscribe. If you want to receive the benefits of being a member, like making me dress in a wool Mothman costume, by all means, hit the join button on our homepage to become a paying member. We'd love to have you. We do all kinds of things here with members, and we're going to have a lot more exciting stuff coming around the corner. Let's say hi to some people here.
Yeah.
It's U.S. Mail. I've been hearing good things about the Mafia podcast as of late, and Numbskull convinced me to check it out today, although my Sooners are headed to the SEC. I'm forever a Big 8, Big 12 fan. Well, hey, thanks for coming here, U.S. Mail. We're 2 Big 10 guys hosting a show on a channel called Big 12 Mafia. So you're always welcome here regardless of where you're playing at.
We do like the Big 12, though. So,
yeah, we love the Big 12. BR7062, Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you as well. Happy New Year to everybody in chat.
Happy New Year indeed, guys.
Ryan Willie. I remembered it's Willie, not Wiley. Happy New Year.
Man, he's a Wisconsin guy, so he can't be that wily, right?
If Washington wins the Natty, which commission will be up there congratulating them? Big or Pac-12? Boy, that's a good question. What do you think?
I think the funniest outcome would be both.
Both. Kleovkov and Petiti. We'll bring it up.
That contrast. One side of you is Kleovkov and the other is Petiti. I mean, the ultimate contrast.
Our buddy Jim F's here from Texas. Howdy, Jim.
I'm pulling for Texas.
Stephen Veit actually made the show live tonight. Good to see you, Stephen. Raider Vision is here.
Hey.
I'm sure they voted for this moth costume. Jose, him and his wife are sipping champagne right now. I wish I was Jose. Will 2024 be as crazy as 2023?
Worse.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, I mean,
Worse.
or better, however your perspective is on it. I mean, for me, I might say better, but to most people, worse.
Do you think the ACC survives 2024?
Yes. Not as people know
Not
it
as it
now,
is, but
but
yes.
yes.
Better or worse position than the pack is now?
Oh, I mean, uh, from what I think is going to happen, that would be better.
Okay.
If that does not happen, then worse. I think if OSU and WSU do not make it into somewhere else, which is what you're talking about, the pack staying together, I think they actually have some decent brand options out west, and that might even include some Texas programs and such from other conferences. I don't think that they're just going to go straight with the Mountain West. I think that if they were, they would have made that deal. So I would actually say that that conference could be better than the ACC. But we'll see. We'll see.
We'll see. Ryan thinks it could be worse. It's going to be a lot worse in terms of conference realignment if you're the ACC right now. Sergeant Pickles is starting to get anxious.
That's CFP.
Yeah. And
Blessing and a curse.
everybody for Washington's playing in that. So nobody's sitting out for that one.
No surprise. They got a coach from Iowa and a coach from Indiana. They got good culture.
Nathan Campbell's in the house saying hi. Good to see you, Nate. Bo Stacker with the alarm clock counting down to New Year's.
He was ready for us to get started.
Get out of this outfit. Huskies made the CFP in 16 and 23. Odd or even, no factor. Well, that's correct. The Huskies are one of the many Big Ten teams to make the playoffs. Heath Ledger Joker voice, and here we go. I feel like a Batman villain. There you go. Mothman Prophecies. Great film. I watched it the other day. We sat down and watched it. It's still a scary movie. Happy New Year's Eve, Devil Frog. Go TCU. It's a cope stream on Ohio State with Moen. Law.
A little bit.
Yeah, it's not. You're not going to get really much of a cope stream from that game. I said I'm proud the way the defense held up. The defense used to be our Achilles heel. They held them for 4 quarters, for 3 quarters with nothing.
The defensive line was a nightmare for a while there. Oof.
Yeah. Too bad we just didn't have an offensive line to show up.
Yeah. I mean, when you're having an offensive line and you got that quarterback behind you and that's stability. That's just demoralizing. So I wouldn't judge them too harshly on that.
I have been hitting the devil's lettuce, but I assure you these eyes are not a result of that. You're right. It's Point Pleasant. If I called it Pleasant Point, I apologize. It's right across the river from Gallipolis, who everybody in West Virginia refers to as Gallipolis. Randy Taylor's here. I see you, Randy. Reminder, guys, we try to get to as many of these comments as possible. Members get preferential. Super chats always get answered. So if I kind of jump around here, I'm just trying to get all these comments answered if we can. Casting for Chrome was here. That game was so bad. I switched to Airbud to Golden Receiver. Much better football. Well, that was a scripted movie, though. And he had a much better quarterback than Ohio State did. And he had an offensive line. In 2014, TCU was snubbed and showed up to stomp the hell out of Ole Miss in the Peach Bowl. That's true. And Ohio State won with a third-string quarterback.
That was also just the first year of the CFP.
Yes.
Like it really hadn't had its effect yet.
Yes, they hadn't officially screwed anybody yet. They screwed TCU and Baylor first, and then they screwed Florida State. But they've screwed other people along the way, too.
People were still into the bowls at that time as well. Like after this many years of the CFP, that's kind of taken a hit on the bowl games and their relevance.
Yeah, well, that's pre-NIL, pre-portal.
Yep.
If you went somewhere, you had to sit a year. Um,
I think you could only really do that later, like after 3 years or so. I mean, it was pretty tough back in the day to transfer.
so Raider Vision brings up a great point. We were talking about this. If you're not in the Invitational or the playoffs, the bowl should go away or certainly not count in the stats. How do we fix the problem? We know there's a problem. How do we fix it?
I think it's just an entire complete revamping, just a remaking of the whole setup, the whole system. And when you're done doing that, you then take a look and see what you can do that wouldn't be a waste of time or whatnot. So, I don't know if the bowl games are involved. We have so much to figure out. We got so many lawsuits, law cases, governance issues. Just there's a lot. So where the Bulls fit in right now, it's real hard to tell. It doesn't look good.
Yeah, it should improve next year with the 12-team playoff. You'll have a lot more teams with a lot more to play for. It should make for more competitive bowl games. But you still got these other bowl games that are...
Yeah. You're saying the bowl games in the playoff.
Right. The playoffs bowl games will be, which there'll be 8 of them.
I know they're still bowl games, but they don't feel to me like bowl games. I mean, they are.
They aren't.
They have bowl committees that do everything around them and all that, but yeah, I mean it's different. All the rest of them, it's hard to make people even care about them unless you're a team that doesn't really ever think that much about getting to the playoff, but earning a bowl spot actually means something. So I don't know. Maybe
coming bowl eligible.
Yeah, I mean it's
big
tough
for a lot of for a lot of schools, but
if we have conference playoffs in the future and that's 6 of your conference's best teams or whatever, I mean, what are you as a conference now offering to the bowls? I mean, do we even have conference tie-ins to bowls anymore at that point? I would dare say maybe not. Like bowls at that point might try to just be open to their best availability, because so many times they're getting screwed by those contracts now. You're getting teams in that don't care, or they aren't the same as the team they were during the regular season that gets them that spot. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. I'm like today, LSU or tomorrow, LSU versus Wisconsin. Most people think LSU is going to crush them, but what does LSU have? What have they lost? What does Wisconsin have? I don't know. So it's a very different game than what we got from these teams during the regular season.
They're different teams.
Oh yeah,
they're just completely different teams now. Which, I mean, it would be an example in previous years. You'd be excited to watch Wisconsin LSU. I mean, it's a down year for Wisconsin, but I have no desire to watch LSU whoop up on them, which is what I think is going to happen. I think they're going to get boat raced. Ag biochemists got a point. The economies for all these bowl host cities will be affected negatively in a few years as well with the 12-team playoff. That's true, but I mean,
yes and no, but like some of these bowl games are not getting that many people going to them anymore, and that's what really builds the economy. It's not the TV money or any of that. It's by actually having people come and watch. And you can still see some of these bowl games that have plenty of people coming to them, but it's already going downhill. So that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to bring visitors. They're trying to bring tourism. They're trying to bring people coming in and just dumping money. And that part is definitely going down, in my opinion. I mean, certain schools might still have good traveling groups, but I mean, it's, if you don't get one of those teams in your bowl, you're taking a major hit.
Yeah, let me try and pull this up here. We got a super chat from our friend Devil Frog, TCU fan. I think bowls, as we know them, go away with more playoff expansion, say 24 teams. Great point. I wanted to put this out here. My solution would be having a second tournament featuring teams 13 through 24 selected. And maybe having a couple open spots if teams opt out for G5 schools. Sort of like an NIT for college football. I don't see college football playoffs getting up to 24 teams.
That's so many games.
Yeah.
There's so many games you're having to make these kids play. I mean, And they still haven't even figured out their pay structure they're going to do. I mean, you can't go that big without them being on some type of paid contract employee status. I mean, that's twice as many games. You start adding that up. I mean, that's a long postseason. So that's like half a season.
Yeah. Yeah. You would have to definitely cut down on some games in the regular season to pull that off.
That's why I think like conference playoffs, every conference can do all that at the same time. And so you get a lot of postseason games, like 40 or more, but it's all going on within, a 3-week period after the season. So you get a whole lot of content in a very short amount of time. Whereas if they expand the playoff, like everyone's saying, it just expands it. It goes into NFL time. They're not going to play nice. So, yeah, I think that they're pretty much as far as that can go. That's why I think the CFP itself might actually get smaller and just become a tournament of champions. It's going to be too big of a fight with the NFL if they do this over, a long period of time.
Definitely agree. Appreciate your super chat, Devil Frog. It means
Yep.
the world to us. It helps us keep the lights on here. Much appreciated, sir. Go Frogs. Even though Devil Frogs are not frogs.
A few questions out there about the 12-team playoff and like the first round and how that'll work, and 12 teams for sites.
Well, for starters, I'm gonna let you explain this why Iowa football is the thing of beauty.
Well, in order to see the beauty of Iowa football, you have to be able to watch the game with a perspective that isn't controlled by the cameraman. You have to find a couple guys on defense and watch. And once you watch it, you watch this team actually moves completely and entirely in unison. So in my opinion, that's the thing of beauty, because that's not easy to do. That's not easy to teach or train, or to get them all to work that way in a kind of as a group mentality, and less of like each person trying to just show off what they can do. And it makes it very tough to play against because there's no openings, there's no holes. You literally just have to beat them, and they work well. I mean, I love watching Castro come where he's not even on the screen. He just flies up out of nowhere and runs right through and gets a tackle. I just enjoy watching their defense. That's not to mean that maybe they're the best defense. I just like the way Parker sets them up, has them play together. And then, it's kind of a little bit more like soccer, which, if people don't like it, don't think it's a beautiful game, that's cool. But it's more about a buildup, a slow grinding buildup for that score. You it might take a couple punts to work the field position, but then when you get it, and yeah, that's not hugely sexy or what everyone likes, but guys, this is Iowa. Like, they're bringing in 3 stars and turning them into top round draft picks in the NFL.
TJ Watt.
Yeah.
I mean, they build them different in Iowa, that's for sure. And it is a thing of beauty. I mean, it's just beauty is in the eye of the beholder sometimes. Yeah. I think people get too accustomed to high flying offenses and 35 to 38 scores, but sometimes it's not all the time, obviously. I'm not advocating all the time. I would like to see Iowa produce an offense at some point.
Yeah, and people think like this is how it's always been. This is not how it's always been. In fact, the offense was just fine and was very potent until they handed it off to Brian Ferentz, and it just year by year goes down. You can look at the stats, you can look at the graphs for it. It was pretty much a steady decline from whenever he took it over. And so it's been kind of a nightmare for the school, and this has become the identity for a while. But I think people who, I don't want to be like, oh, they don't know the game, but just, I don't know, maybe haven't played it or whatever. They don't care that much about defense. Like, it's almost like they're the NPCs, and the offense is like the main character, and it's just a different way of kind of watching the game. But for me, it's just as important, if not more so. So to me, it is a beautiful thing to watch. But to some folks, they just don't have any appreciation for it, and that's fine.
Daniel Gygax, rather West Virginia of you, Moen, to be Mothman. Let me put this out here. The members of this channel voted for me to be Mothman or Moth Moen. I did not pick this. This would not have been my choice, guys. Oh, let me jump down here. Got a
You,
lot of great comments coming in here, guys. I'm trying to get to as many of them as I can, so I just keep scrolling and more keep popping up. So,
trying to find out where you're at.
Here we go. I want you to answer this question. How will the 12-team playoff work for sites? Will it be like D2, where the better seed is at their home stadium, or will the bowl sites host all these playoff games?
I think what they're looking at doing is the first round. I think this is already announced. The first round is actually going to be home games. It will be in their home stadiums. Those will not be bowl games. And ESPN does not hold the rights to those yet. They have not sold those. ESPN only owns rights to the games that are currently in the playoff. So they've been trying to sell those. And then, there's rumors that some of the other networks aren't as interested in the early ones without also having something in the later ones. Now, that could just be a negotiation tactic, and they're going to get nowhere with that. There's nothing to do about that right now. So I think it'll largely be ESPN and Fox that will be watching this on. And the home games, that's going to be very interesting. I mean, figuring out who gets that home field advantage in the first game. Think about when number 8 versus number 9. I mean, what's going to be the actual difference between those two teams, yet one of them is getting a major advantage. So if people are looking for where there's going to be controversy next year, look at number 8 and number 9. Figuring out who gets that is going to make a difference between home field advantage. So if people think that controversy is over, it is not. Bowl games will be every bowl that was like an every other year thing now, the way it is now, will be an every year thing. So they went, I think, from 6. I don't know how it goes, but anyways, those will be in the later ones, and so it's either going to be 1 or 2 rounds of home games.
Yeah, it's just going to be the one round of home games.
First one,
I understand it. The 4 top division champions or conference champions, excuse me. I already think it's the NFL. Will have a bye. They will have a bye, and then the other 8 teams will play each other. The higher seed hosts the game. They can host it at their stadium or a stadium of their choosing. I know that because Gene Smith had mentioned playing it in Lucas Oil Stadium. Ohio Stadium, believe it or not, is not winterized. So playing in December, you may end up playing in a foot of snow, depending on how global warming feels that year. Oh, hold on a second. We got a guy here. We got a guy.
We got a guy.
I know this guy. His name's Numbskull.
Holy cow, he made it.
He can hook us up with some speakers out of his van.
Absolutely.
Or out of his UPS truck. What's up, buddy?
What's up? Yeah, things fall out of that truck all the time.
Oops.
I mean, not my truck.
Of course not. Yours is like immaculate, right?
Yeah. FedEx ground all the time.
Dude, I actually, just so you know this, when I was younger, I used to work for them. So, true story.
I did for a split minute. Not FedEx ground, but FedEx proper, and got the hell out of there. It had no sense of humor.
Yeah, well, they generally don't.
No. UPS doesn't either, but they pay me a lot more, so I'm willing to deal with that.
Well, let me ask you a question now that you're here. How would you fix bowl season?
Bowl season? I think Flugar he was kind of onto something a little bit. I don't agree with the kids collectively bargaining. I'm a union member, but I don't think that's going to do them a lot of good. I think they'll get taken advantage of by whoever the union people would be. But there needs to be some kind of, I don't know, I guess that would fix it. Like a contract, like they have to sign off on a contract to play for a school. Like if they're going to be professional, then, if they're going to get paid by the school, they're going to have to sign contracts, and that's going to run through bowls. So, and if they don't play in the bowl, there's a penalty. So if that's coming, then that's probably what's going to happen. I don't like it, but if they're going to collectively bargain, they're going to get collectively screwed as well. As far as just having options, it's like there's no more just jumping into a transfer portal without monetary problems.
Yep.
So that'll probably fix it, or it's just going to go away. But as long as the networks can make money off the bowls, they're going to be there.
Awesome Lawson clips. A member wanted to bring up immaculate 24 teams is only one more game than the 12 team.
I was thinking it was 2 weeks because
it's about a playoff 24 team playoff.
Yeah,
that's a little much. 16,
because
16 is perfect.
We're trying to think how far that would go. I mean, that's he might be right. I'm trying to figure out how that would work. I'm sure he's saying that there's no buys, so you're going down to 12 teams after the first week, and then you go down to 6. But you got to have buys in there at some point in time because it just mathematically doesn't work. You have to work in you'd have to be with 16 or 32 for it to go down.
I think it would work if you had 8 team buys, if you had the 8 conference champions all on buys the first week. And then the other 16 would play each other to get down to 8, and then it'd be 8 versus 8, and then, paring it down from there.
Well, we can't have a dozen SEC teams? Why not? All these scum-sucking G5s?
Looking forward to that Liberty game. Bring that up. I'm really looking forward to Liberty versus Oregon.
I bet the over on that one heavy.
Betting Oregon, are you?
Yeah. And I've got Oregon covering the over entirely by themselves on that one. I think they're pissed off.
If Liberty ever found a way to get paid, that's I don't know. That fan base is nuts, and that they just do it.
People, I think some people have a thing or a bias against them, and that's fine. That's their thing, whatever. But if you're going to look at them and wonder where they could be in the future, you kind of have to look at it with an unbiased eye. And I don't know how someone looks at them and doesn't think that school clearly wants to get somewhere, and they have the way to do it. The money, I don't know how Liberty isn't eventually running the AAC.
Probably be there eventually.
Yeah. I mean, you have to. Otherwise, they're going to be your +1 coming out of the G5 all the time. If you're the AAC, you do not want to leave Liberty and Coosa. They're just going to win it every year and be the one AQ champ from the G5 every year.
The future ACC, they may win every year.
Well, at least then they're winning for you.
Yeah.
And you're profiting from it. Whereas now they're going to keep the AAC out of that tournament most years.
Now, what the hell is Moen supposed to be?
I am Moth Moen. We let the members of the channel pick the costume for tonight, and this is the one they stuck me with, was a heavy wool costume, because I think they're all sadists.
Probably.
But who do you guys have in the semifinals? You got semifinal games coming up tomorrow. Who do you have? Who do you have winning the national title?
What you got?
I promise we'll talk realignment.
I got Washington over Texas. I want to say somewhere in the neighborhood of 32-24, somewhere in there.
Okay.
And I got Alabama over Michigan, somewhere around 24-16. Now, secretly, I'm rooting for Michigan to win it all, but my logical, normal guy, my asshole side says Michigan. Let them ruin everything. But
I thought it was because TCU beat them last year. You guys would kind of get to.
I don't. I have nothing against Michigan. I'm glad they cheated everybody in the Big Ten. I'm glad Ohio State's trying to get revenge by cheating themselves. That's all good. That's all good. I love that. So I hope they win it all. But I actually think Washington's going to win it all by beating Alabama in the final.
That is quite
Very
the
good.
call.
Immaculate. What do you think?
I have been pretty pro Texas all year, even to the annoyance of Numbskull. But I now have to say that I have a little bit of bias in what I'm about to say. And that's that Iowa, I think, is going to end up with Christ as their offensive coordinator, and he's with Texas right now. But I do think that they're going to beat Washington. I don't think Washington is really. I don't know if necessarily there is a Texas in the pack. Oregon may be close to it, but so I think Texas will beat them. I think Alabama and Michigan's a toss-up. I want Michigan to win, but I also kind of want Alabama to win just to make this whole mess even messier. But no, I think Michigan has the squad to do it. I think that their offense is a lot better than Alabama's. Defensively, I think they're pretty on par. So I like Michigan versus Texas, and then Texas winning it all. And
I
then
really want Washington to win it all, but I'm picking Texas, and I am absolutely want to see Michigan get creamed. I don't want it to even be close. I don't want Jim Harbaugh to have any options. Go to the NFL, let Michigan deal with your sanctions and all that good stuff. But I really want Washington to win. I'm going to be rooting for Washington regardless, but I think you're getting a rematch in the national championship game. And if you want the worst thing to happen, that's the worst thing that could happen, is to have a rematch in the national championship game where Alabama beats Texas, which is where I see this going. It's Alabama over Texas in the national championship game. I'm not going to bet against Nick Saban.
No, if there's a rematch, Alabama's winning that. Yeah. Nick Saban is just
usually the odds go that way. Yeah.
He's the Antichrist, and he did his deal with the devil.
He made a deal with Satan. Yeah.
He did. But I don't know, man. Michael Penix, that's the best quarterback going.
Yeah, he's the best. 100.
I mean, he's going to throw. I don't know. I think he's going to have over 400-yard game against Texas. They haven't seen a quarterback like that. The closest they saw was Oklahoma, and look what happened.
I don't think Washington has seen an offensive or defensive line that Texas has. That's my thing.
No, but they're not great. I mean, they're not like some super pass rush specialist. You know, this isn't the Cowboys we're talking about. They're good.
No, yeah. They're not pass rush. They're run defense specializing.
Washington doesn't need to run the ball.
No, but I mean, Texas has good defensive backs.
And I think Oregon would beat Texas. I think they would beat them soundly, actually. Because Oregon can rush the passer.
Yeah.
And they got a good defense, and they got a really explosive offense. Texas, I don't know. The pack was insane this year. It was good. And Washington being undefeated, beating Oregon twice, that, to me, they got the best resume in there. Alabama's got the best win over Georgia. But dude, Washington's for real.
Washington could win it all.
That's my pick.
I'm rooting for him. I just, with Texas, it's Texas.
Put some money on it, Moen.
Yeah,
just a little slideness on the side.
I'm not going for that. No way. No way, no how. I want Washington to win too much to put money on Texas.
No, I mean put money on Washington.
Oh, well, that would ensure that Texas is going to win.
So put money on Washington. I'm totally biased in it. I mean, I do to some degree want Texas to win, so that way our new offensive coordinator next year is, also a national champion. But we'll see.
And I want Washington to win, so our conference has one more national championship.
That's fair.
Don't you want to have the Natty at your school?
That too. Yeah, because that experience will definitely come in handy in trying to get the 133rd ranked offense in the country to, break into the double digits at least. Yeah.
I mean, let him win that thing with Iowa. He's got all the experience he needs. He's got plenty of experience.
Oh, yeah, I know. We'll see how it goes. I wouldn't mind if Washington won and, like you're saying, bring a national championship to the Big Ten next year. That'd be okay.
Yeah. Now, if they lose, I'm going to laugh at them for trying to steal money from Oregon State and Washington State. But, that's the way I'll look at it. There's always a silver lining. And
like you got your bases covered either way.
The karma waits for nobody. So there's a big old karma crap pie just waiting to be shoved in someone's face. Regardless of the matchup, I will find a reason to hate you. And so if Washington screws up, it's because they tried to screw Oregon and Washington State.
Well, one man's theft is another man's acquisition. So, but Devil Frog, another TCU guy, come in with the NIT playoff we discussed, having 13 through 24 play each other. Have 24 and 25 have to play a play-in. That way being in the top 25 holds some meaning. That's actually not a bad idea. It might not be fair for them. They'd have to play the one extra game, but
it would make bowl season more interesting.
Yeah. Have a NIT bowl and a regular tournament, an NIT tournament. I don't know what we would call it, but Sergeant Pickles thinks Washington over Bama. Well, I'm glad you picked Bama to win at least.
I think Washington would be Bama. If Bama makes it in against Washington, I would 100% put my money on Washington. I don't think Bama can run with them, score with them. I don't actually think that they have the defense to even stop them.
Yeah, that Saban's kryptonite is a great quarterback.
It's just that Michigan's a little one-sided in their offense, so it's a little bit more predictable. Whereas when you're playing against Penix, that guy can hit a dime on the field with his pass 60 yards. I mean, that's
pretty much on the run.
Yeah, it's laser precision, and that he is. I don't even think it's close. He's the best quarterback out of the college football this year.
Yes, but can he do it wearing the Chicago Bears uniform? That's the question.
Not in November. Early in the season, better get them wins early.
Yeah.
Or build a dome, one or the other.
I heard they were chanting the quarterback's name in Chicago today, so I think that they might be trading that pick.
They'd be smart to take Marvin Harrison Jr. and actually get him a receiver.
Yeah. Oof, imagine that combo.
Is that young kid they drafted a couple years ago?
Well, because they have Fields from Ohio State as a quarterback, and so if they brought in Harrison, did those guys ever play together?
No.
Oh,
nope.
That's a shame.
I like Fields.
Oh yeah, but that would be one hell of a combination. Oof.
Yeah, they need to find their CD Lamb.
Yeah.
They don't need to mess around with the quarterback again. That kid's fine. If everyone there likes him, good. They'll buy his jerseys. Go start filling other roles. Chicago just always seems backwards with their drafting.
Yeah, what sucker's going to trade up? Let's see, Jersey?
The Jets?
Jersey? Jets will trade up.
They got Rodgers still.
He's 53 or 85, whatever. He's about the same age as Cam Rising. He's pretty damn old.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll take a quarterback, though. They might have to try and put some pieces around him as much as they paid him.
Seattle could use a quarterback.
Good, but I don't think they trade up for it. I don't think
they got to trade way up.
Yeah.
Who else? Yeah.
I would say the Browns, but I think they done crap the bed.
They got Joe Flacco now, guys.
He's
even older than Aaron Rodgers, I think.
His first good game in 10 years.
Now, Bo Stacker brings up a good point. So if Michigan wins, there won't be a 2023 national champion because their wins will be vacated.
Exactly. That's why I'm pushing for him.
Hey, Nathan Campbell really wants a question asked to you guys. Let me ask you this here real quick. So
I can pull it up here if I can find it.
He was asking about who you guys thought would win the Big 12, the top 4 teams in the Big 12 next year.
Arizona.
Yeah.
Who you got as your next 3?
K-State.
Fair.
Oklahoma State.
Oh, good pick. Yep.
Got that running back coming back in.
Yep.
Colorado.
There's your stunner right
there.
I'm telling you, they're going to get a little bit of something worked out with that offensive line. And that's if the kid comes back.
Yeah, they started to, and then it started to look like they were getting picked apart. So I don't know. I agree. I think Arizona's coming in. You kind of have to look at them.
I want to say Utah.
That's who I have my 4th.
I want to say, you know what? Scratch Colorado. I'm sorry. I meant KU. I meant Kansas.
Ooh.
I meant Kansas, not Colorado. I think Colorado's a couple years away. And I want to say Utah. But like I said, Cam Rising's on Social Security. He's a walking mass unit. I don't trust who they got behind him. And they're going to learn something about the Big 12. Everyone is already going to want a piece of that ass the first year there. It's just everyone's going to want a piece of them. And I love them coming in. I love the trash talk, but it's going to cost them some games.
Yeah, I think it's Arizona. I think like you said, it's Oklahoma State. I definitely think that they're the tops in the old Big 12. Kansas State, I think will rearm, but I do think that Utah, I have a hard time picking against them. I don't know what they're gonna. I don't know if that quarterback is good enough, but they're gonna have a good team, and
they'll be in the mix.
Yeah. And there's some other ones that could be in there. But I think that fourth team right there, that's where you're really getting into the mush of it. I mean, that could be a multitude of teams. You could throw in a whole bunch of different names in there in that fourth pick, and you're probably good.
I'm a believer in the Kansas school. The Kansas schools are for real coaches. What's that dude, Avery Johnson, that's coming in? He looks sick.
He look good.
He looks sick. So
you look good. I know someone's saying in the chat, Jim saying K-State just lost their OC to A&M. It's like, yeah, but they upgraded at quarterback.
You get in the Cracker Jack box, pull out another OC.
Yeah,
I ain't worried about that.
I think Kansas State's probably number 2.
So who you got, Moen?
I like Utah to win it all. Consistency. Hey. Kyle Whittingham is the most consistent coach in that conference. Mike Gundy would be second, but I'm not even putting Oklahoma State in there. Then I have runner-up Kansas. I think Utah will beat Kansas in the conference championship game. I got Arizona number 3, simply because I don't know if those kids are going to transfer out yet. I think after that bowl performance, they could get bags thrown at them. They could leave. I also think if Jim Harbaugh leaves Michigan, Jed Fish is leaving Arizona. So I've got Arizona number 3. Number 4, I hate to do it, but I'm going to put Colorado. I
you
know.
Guys.
I wanted Colorado. I don't want to.
Wow.
I hate it. I hate it. But I'm going to put Colorado in there just because I think they're going to be able to get the talent.
What is their schedule next year? I got to look at their schedule.
Did we get that?
Yeah,
Colorado. We did, didn't we?
Schedule release.
Did we get the date? Did we get the actual schedule, or did we just get the model?
I don't know that we got the days.
I don't know if we actually got it.
But here's a good one. This is an NFL question, but it's a Big 12 Mafia, and we're talking all kinds of stuff here. So, what team will Harbaugh go to next year? I've got my definitive answer on this, but I'll let you guys go.
I don't know. People say San Diego. I would say you got to have a good look at Chicago. That's who I'd say. But I haven't really been looking enough to know what other options are strong out there.
Chicago is the front runner. I would say the dark horse in that would be New England Patriots.
Ooh.
They're going to move on.
I like that. That is
that's prestige.
If you're going to move on from him, Harbaugh might be the next guy you go for. If that's the kind of guy you like, that guy that's in his head that socially, might say something that just throws everything off, but it has, is a very good coach and knows how to do that. That might be the right guy, actually. Shit.
That's what I would do.
I'm going to say San Diego. I think the Chargers job is the best NFL job in the last 3 or 4 hiring cycles.
That's right. It's not San Diego, it's LA. Sorry, that was my fault. I said that
guess
earlier.
What? It's San Diego to me, and it's always going to be San Diego Chargers.
We still think of San Diego.
And the Raiders are always going to be in Oakland. So
the problem is San Diego is they're the Clippers,
Yeah.
If I'm Harbaugh, I want to go someplace with some prestige to it. Chicago's got some prestige to it. New England.
That's his old team. He was with the 85 team. He was the backup.
Yeah. So I can see that. I think Chicago's the front runner, but like I said, I understand.
I think San Diego's got the better roster right now. I think
Yeah.
if you want to win now, you want to win a Super Bowl. You got Justin Herbert
Plus,
right there.
Does Harbaugh want to win his title with an Ohio State guy?
I think he
Herbert.
would for any ring he would do anything it takes. Jim
Probably.
Harbaugh, he would do anything it takes.
Herbert's overrated.
Craig Kirsch with a great thing. Giving Saban a month to prepare for a game is a huge plus for Alabama. I agree. He
Truth.
game planned for Georgia perfectly.
Yeah.
And
Kind of
he
hard
did
to
that
argue against.
with just a week. So
He is the GOAT.
give him a month, and going to be real awkward next year, rolling up next year, because both Minnesota and Washington claim the 1960 championship. Well, you can take that up with Flugar.
Who was alive?
I wasn't. That's
Oh.
well before my time. So Minnesota was really something before electricity, guys.
Oh, yeah.
They still got people getting caught out in lakes. I saw that news item. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that was. Did they rescue those people?
Yeah,
I hope so. I hope they're not still just floating out there.
imagine that going out fishing, getting stuck on an iceberg. Okay.
Double
just-
frog. It's cute that you're gonna like this one. It's cute that Texas calls their road uniforms icy whites. Is CDC Texas AD going to appropriate a quote about fighting them on the ice until hell freezes over too?
I don't know, but that sure is creative.
Well, there's nothing unique about Texas,
Give you
except for
TC
having a
that.
school shooter. That was a long time ago. This is what, too soon? The guy in the tower? That was a long time ago.
Yeah. Train
It's
Marine.
nothing recent. Nothing recent. I'm not Alex Jones over here.
No discussions about Harbaugh's free new agent. Well, we just kind of talked about that. We touched on the NFL rumors.
Mhm.
As long as Harbaugh's your head coach, that's going to be a rumor every year. He is a great NFL coach. It didn't work. He's an asshole. That's why it didn't really work out with San Francisco. Nobody wanted to deal with him. So
I think he's feeling out all possible potentials up there before he signs that deal, which basically, I don't remember exactly how it worked out, but the deal they offered to Harbaugh limits his ability to leave for the NFL. So it's kind of like if he's going to sign that, it's definitely him deciding to stick around for a while. So I think he's seeing what his options are. But if he stays, he might be facing the NCAA.
yeah, I never even thought about that New England job. Now, the more I think about it, he might take that. That would be a hell of a situation to walk into.
All Robert Kraft has to do is call that agent, that new agent. Hey, I want your guy. And it'll be done. He'll go to that. Oh, yeah.
Will Bill Belichick be given a position with the team, or will he retire?
Oh, he'll probably retire. Maybe they'll I don't know, some little BS thing that he can do from the boat down there with Jimmy Johnson, whatever. But no, he's royalty there forever. So
I'm just saying. I was thinking like GM.
anything's possible. I don't know how interested he would
I
be.
thought he already had a lot of sway over who the
I
roster
think he does.
is.
That's
Yeah.
why,
He
like,
wanted Mac
I mean,
Jones. So
they could drop their GM, whoever, I don't even know who it is, and just put him in that position, and it's probably business as usual.
I don't know. I think you would want Harbaugh to, buy the groceries and cook it. So,
Yeah, but I mean, he could maybe run that for a couple of years as GM, and then
I don't know.
if it works out.
If I'm Harbaugh, I want the old man down there with the orchids of Asia,
Yeah, maybe.
parlor down there, and let me run the team. Oh, I
Yeah,
got the Colorado schedule too.
I couldn't see Belichick as a television analyst.
Not a
got
warm
so
one.
much, he's got so much charisma in him. I don't think we could handle it.
Yeah. Yeah, hear him calling him. Well, that guy
Most Stacker,
sucks.
there's probably 6 teams that could legitimately win the Big 12 next year. Let's talk about this. Who are your dark horse picks? Who do you think's going to be? Nobody's going to see him coming. Who's this year's TCU in the Big 12?
ASU.
ASU. Okay.
Mhm.
I like it.
All right, you take them. I'll take I'll take you at UCF.
You could have took TCU. I would list TCU as a dark horse coming in just because they didn't
Who's
do
their
so good this
quarterback?
year. I don't know.
Yeah,
You
I
tell
don't
us.
know either. I don't know either.
Okay. They
See,
don't
I
have.
gotta-
Okay. There's no solutions there at all.
I got to see one.
That's kind of.
I like Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati's going to. I think they did very well this year for what they had happen last year, and I think they're going to improve again. I don't think they're going to win it, but dark horse. No love for West Virginia being in the top 4 in the Big 12.
No, West Virginia's got a shot, man. Next year could be their year.
Yeah, they're in that group where, like we were saying, like to pick number 4, there's probably 6 teams you could go at and pick one of them, and not be a crazy pick.
I'd think
say
there's
West Virginia's
8.
part of that.
Half the league can win this damn thing.
That's one of the reasons why we're looking for, like, as Big Ten guys, and I know me, I can speak for me. That's why I'm looking forward to the Big 12 for the future, is because you almost don't even need to know anything going into the seasons. Just watch and see how it plays out. Like, there's no, okay, we're only looking at these 3 schools. You know, it's most of the conference is going to be competitive.
I can tell you who's not going to win. That's Baylor.
Yep, they kept Aranda.
I don't know why.
Maybe there's just not enough options out there at the time. I don't know.
I think it's a loyalty thing. He didn't take the NFL jobs when he had the option, and
he should have.
He should have, but he didn't. So.
I'm a fan of loyalty, but in this situation, with what's going on, with the next year being the 24, I don't think that's the time when you're loyal.
No, when you can't recruit. I mean,
and you're falling a year behind. Like, you should be trying to build up for whatever's coming in 26.
You're just getting worse, and you can't recruit, so it's not going to get better. So, I don't care.
Yep.
Good luck, Baylor.
It's like you're missing out on these 24 and 25 and maybe even 26 with whatever happens, and over loyalty. Like, okay, commendable, but good decision? No.
Nope.
Wet blanket, 10-4-12, silver medal. Why you can't put Oklahoma State in? They've been in the conference champion game 2 out of the last 3. Look, I like Oklahoma State, but Mike Gundy has a problem where he loses to teams he has no business losing to. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. He'll lose a game to Baylor next year, you know? That's just the way he is sometimes. I don't get it.
He'll win 10 next year.
Yeah.
He'll win 10.
I'd put it at 8.
If Ollie Gordon's healthy, he win 10.
I think that, I think with him coming back, they're probably going to do decently in the transfer portals.
Because remember, it was a mystery team. Everyone was gone. Everyone fled that thing. Yep. And all of a sudden, he once he found how to crank the engine, it took off.
I mean, in the past, if you're looking at Oklahoma State, you're thinking, oh, God, they got Oklahoma every year. You got, Texas, a bunch of those schools. But in this new Big 12, I think Oklahoma State might be one of the better, shall we say, brands in that conference. So I think next year could be a big year for them if they get all the right pieces.
They either win 10 or they lose 10.
We've got 12 schools in the Big 12 that could potentially be in the top 4, is what we're saying. 12 out of the 16 could be in the top 4.
Not a crazy thought.
It's going to be crazy next year with all conferences other than the ACC. Well, even the ACC, seeing how Cal and Stanford and SMU really pack a wallop to that conference. But the Big Ten adding 4 schools, Oklahoma, Texas to the SEC, the 4 new ones coming into the Big 12. College football is going to be exciting next year. We just need to figure out the bowl situation.
I think the ACC will be as exciting next year as the Pac was this year for the exact same reason why. Everyone thinks like this year is because Pac had quarterbacks and they had all these offenses. No, it was because everyone knew it was their last year. And the same type of hype will be around the ACC next year, if we're not mistaken. Not the ACC is dying, but as the ACC is right now, there's going to be a lot of people that think it's dying based upon who might be leaving.
So you're saying the ACC is going to be good next year?
No, I'm not saying it's going to be good. There's just going to be
better,
a lot of focus on it.
Oh, okay.
I don't necessarily think the Pac was as good as it was presented this year. I think it had very good offenses. And so it was easy to sell. And it's their last year, so people are interested. And so I think the same thing will happen next year in the ACC is we'll have news of these schools that are leaving. There's going to be all this excitement. That I think that excitement builds into those teams. I think they're better than they were this year. So, yeah, I think next year the ACC will actually be a major story.
Sergeant Pickles thinks if Harbaugh leaves, Michigan goes after DeBoer. I have to think DeBoer's got enough sense to realize that Michigan's going to get sanctioned, and he doesn't want any part of that.
I'm kind of that way with Mr. Fish too. I don't think because that's going to be nasty.
Yeah,
they won't be able to compete for a few years, at least not on that level.
there are 7 teams in the NFL with worse records than the Bears today. Could be more after next week. Well,
yeah, but there's a lot of them that don't have the name value. It's Chicago, it's the Bears, Tennessee. I don't know if I'm leaving Michigan for Tennessee.
Well, Tennessee is not going to get rid of Mike Vrabel. I don't believe it.
No, probably not. But I mean, Houston, whatever, a little, I know, whatever. No, some kind of like a franchise no one cares about. You want to go to something that's legit.
Yeah, I think New England. If they really move on from Bill Belichick, New England is probably the correct pick. Roster talent, if he wants to win a ring as soon as possible, it's the Chargers, wherever you want to call it that they're from.
LA.2.
Yeah. They're still the San Diego Superchargers to me.
They need to be San Diego or San Antonio Superchargers.
That would be a good move. I don't know if the NFL would allow it, though.
No, you don't know if Jerry Jones will allow it. You got to wait for him to die first. Then you could probably get it done.
Leather helmet football was the heyday of Gophers football.
Less concussions.
Yeah, that's if you're not a fan of the forward pass, you would love Minnesota.
I don't think they had kickers either.
Sergeant Pickles has a differing opinion in thinking Harbaugh was a good NFL coach. Hey, he made it to the Super Bowl. That's a lot more than the majority of coaches in the NFL can say. And he went to the NFC Championship a couple times. Oh, okay. It's because they beat the Seahawks. I forgot about that. Oh, let's see. We've got 55 people watching the stream, guys. I'd like to thank you all for joining us. Remind you to hit the like and subscribe button if you're not subscribed. Those help us immensely in the algorithm. If you want to become a member, you can select join from the channel homepage. See all the member benefits, including access to the members only section, where you can vote to put me in a wool moth costume for some reason. Loyalty badges and other things too. You'll find all the benefits and perks right when you hit join. So won't you consider joining? We answer all super chats. We defer to members on chat questions. I'm trying to get through them as best I can. Please forgive me if I skip around. We got a lot of great comments here. I'm just trying to get a good feeling for everybody. Timothy Green stopping in, a West Virginia Mountaineer. Sergeant Pickles, I hope that Washington wins the national championship. That's coming from the West Virginia fan. I just want you, and Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you as well. Ooh, Nathan Campbell says OSU, KSU, Utah, BYU. I don't think anybody has BYU.
I mean, who knows? Maybe they got some guys coming back from whatever, and they're going to surprise next year. We'll see.
They'll make a bowl.
Well, that's not saying much. 5 and 7 teams made bowls this year.
Well,
they had a pretty tough schedule this year. They threw BYU against. I think they played both Oklahoma and Texas. They had a pretty rough schedule, so I'd have to look at their schedule. Maybe it's a little bit looser next year.
CJ Stroud is a rookie with a chance to win the AFC South his rookie season. Yeah, he's the offensive rookie of the year. I don't think there's any doubt. I think he's a unanimous offensive rookie of the year. Game changer there. They did good drafting him. Nathan Campbell thinks the Bears. The Bears.
I think if he was picking with his heart, it would be the Bears.
Boy, I don't know. Numbskull brought up a great point. Now I'm thinking New England all the way. If they
That's
really
a
get rid
great
of
logic
Belichick,
pick. Like that is an absolute great logic pick. I hadn't even thought of that. I just think though, if the Bears come hard at him with offers, it's going to be hard for him to pick past it. I mean, look, he went to Michigan. He's done all this because of his heart. I think that if he's going to go to the NFL and they offer him big, I think he has a hard time saying no to that. He was an 85 Bear on that team, so.
let's talk a little realignment, guys.
Yeah.
That was a resounding
I'll always
Florida
talk
State. Florida State has let it be known that they have given notice to the ACC that we want out. Clemson, yesterday, their AD had a chance to make a statement, said nothing. We've heard from Greg Pfluger that Miami is an quote-unquote interested observer. Virginia Tech, Virginia, North Carolina State are allegedly tied at the hip with each other, their sister schools within the state. I want to do a bad Zager and Evans impression. In the year 2025, who is where? Who is in the Big Ten? Who's in the SEC? Who's in the Big 12? If this all goes down, where do you see things landing?
What you got, Knuckle?
Well, I got Florida State, Clemson to the SEC. I know they're doubling up on two states. I know that, but the matchups are too good. I think the ratings possibilities there are just too damn good to pass up. I think now there's a good chance Florida State does go to Big Ten, possibly. But I'm a person, I don't think the SEC is growing that much. 2 teams max. That's it. Big Ten, maybe 1. I think they would love Florida State. If they can't get them, maybe Miami. They want Notre Dame desperately. And they're going to hold a spot. They're not going to just start adding a bunch of crap in. UNC in Virginia, I think it's a smokescreen. I think it's a plant. I think none of it makes it doesn't. Don't tell me about academics. Oh, the demographics. The demographics are better in Florida. Demographics are better in the Bay Area. Demographics are better in Texas. TCU, Stanford, Cal, Miami, Florida State. All of them offer way more of the only positives that UNC and Virginia have. And Virginia's demographics suck. The only reason they look decent is because less people died in the state of Virginia over the last couple of years. That comes from the University of Virginia themselves, who have a little department that study all that crap for the U.S. government and the census. The UNC stuff, overblown. When I see ESPN or Fox pay $70+ million a year for that, for the 46th ranked in TV ratings, then I'll believe it. I'll be like, okay, but I'm going to have to see it. I don't buy it. It doesn't make any logical sense at all to me.
Well, I think, just building off of that it will be UNC, North Carolina State, Virginia Tech to the SEC, but not for full price. I think if they're savvy enough with it and they turn those states, the willingness in those states to try to keep their schools together, you use that against them and you get them for half price. Say, that's fine. We'll take all 4, but you're only getting paid half each. That means it's basically like taking 2 teams, getting 4 teams worth of content and all the rivalries and everything over there. You make sure that the Big Ten doesn't get into, at least in North Carolina, they kind of get Virginia with Maryland. Because I do think Florida State's going to the Big Ten. I think that of all the schools involved with this, that's pretty much the only guarantee at this point. And I don't have something to point to and say, well, this is why it's guaranteed. I don't see Florida State saying yes to the SEC right now at this point. They'd have to know that their fan base would damn near revolt. And that's who they're dependent upon right now to pay. It's big FSU boosters. So I think they're going to the Big Ten. I'm still saying that I think once that price is figured out via the court process, settlement, whatever, that GT will then enter into the discussions because then they'll know what the cost will be. I think GT is above Clemson and above Miami in terms of what the Big Ten would want. Whether or not people think that makes any sense, I get it. I don't really want to kind of debate it or anything, but that's where I'm sitting. I think Clemson goes to the Big 12. I don't see the SEC looking at them saying, we have to have them in. I think if they started to do bad, what value do they bring? We don't really know. It's not like Florida State, who's kept high ratings even when they're bad. Clemson dipped this year, and their ratings dipped as well. So I think the SEC takes those 4. I think the Big 12 gets Clemson, Pitt, Louisville, maybe Miami if the whole ACC private university thing isn't actually being worked on. If we don't see Miami going with them, then we know it is being worked on. And, I don't know what you guys would think. I would kind of think about maybe trying to grab USF to pair up with UCF rather than a Syracuse. But I know the basketball thing's going. But, I basically say Clemson, Louisville, and Pitt +1. And, whatever people think that +1 is, I kind of lean USF.
Well, let me tell you why you're both wrong.
Okay.
Florida State is definitely going to the Big Ten. We can Immaculate and I can agree.
I'm not wrong yet. All right. I like this so
yet.
far. We're good for one.
30%.
I used to be I was on the Georgia Tech train.
Mm-hmm.
I've been shown the error of my ways on why it is Miami that is the number 2 pick.
Are you saying that's because of Greg or something else?
Because of something else.
Okay.
Something else someone else told
Fair
me.
enough.
But I
Fair enough.
I think Miami's the number 2 pick. I think those 2 schools go to the Big Ten to take them to 20. I think the SEC does take both Virginia schools, does take both North Carolina schools. I think Clemson is on the outside looking in. I think that's probably why Clemson has not pulled the trigger yet or said anything yet, is they're trying to figure out where Florida State knows they have a landing spot.
Yes.
They know. Clemson has not figured out where that landing spot is. So I think Clemson's on the outside looking in. As far as the Big 12 goes, I think the Big 12 picks up Pitt, Louisville, Syracuse, and UConn. They get that Northeast corridor that Brett Yormark wants. They get basketball schools that Brett Yormark wants. They get travel partners for West Virginia that West Virginia wants. I don't see UCF allowing them to add USF. I think they would be pretty apoplectic about that.
It's just one vote.
But Clemson, I see Clemson staying in the ACC until Texas A&M leaves the SEC, but that'll be down the road. Give it a few years with Texas, and then Texas A&M will be out of there.
Unless ESPN opts out in 2027, then they're screwed.
Then they're screwed.
Which
then they would join the Big 12.
I think that'll happen. I think
You're
that'll
probably
happen.
right.
And I think that's what because ESPN, they got an option, right? They can opt out or they can opt in and really screw people. So, and there's a few teams that would like to get out that might find it a lot harder to get out if ESPN, because in 2027, if you got no media deal, shouldn't take much to get out of that thing for $0 because there's no dollars to make. You still have an exit fee. You can get in the court and get rid of that crap if there's no media partners. That's the only reason to have a grant of rights is if you have a media partner. And who are you going to get? Apple? I wouldn't stick around for Apple. Not if I'm Clemson. No way. But I don't know. I think UNC, if you're the media, if you're Fox and ESPN, UNC and Virginia make way more sense in the Big 12. Because you're splitting way more sense in the Big 12. If you're ESPN, if you're Fox.
You wouldn't want Virginia Tech and North Carolina State over those two in the Big 12?
No. All 4 of them. All 4 of them.
You're saying all 4. Okay.
Yeah, all 4 of them don't make any sense in the SEC to me. It's just too much money. For North Carolina State, Ah,
I mean, if you could split those schools, I'm 100% with you. And then I'd say North Carolina State and Virginia Tech to the Big 12. Like, it's just what it is. But I don't know if they can be split. I mean, you could be right, and that's all bullshit. And then I would agree with you.
yeah, I just like I said, I could be very, very, very wrong. I just can't see the SEC going more than 2 teams.
Yes, for some reason, yeah. I mean, you could be right there, but the SEC loves to brag with every single edition about how it's raised their academic profile, and so I do think that they would take UNC and Virginia, and they don't even need them to win. Like they just picked up Texas and Oklahoma. Like they need some teams to lose, is what they need.
But their payouts won't increase, right? So their CFP and their NCAA tournament payouts is if you add 4 more teams, that's 4 more mouths to feed from that pot that you're getting from right now ESPN, but later it'll probably be more than ESPN in 2026.
Go ahead. I was just gonna say I think they get it because they have conference games to offer to ESPN.
Yeah, but like I said, if you're the SEC, whoever you bring in, you're going to have to cut off a piece of that CFP pie that's going to be going up a lot. And bringing 4 teams, now you're having to feed 4 more teams, and 4 more teams that probably are not going to make a 12-team tournament, and maybe an NCAA tournament, but they ain't making. They'd be lucky to make a bowl game in the SEC. They're going to get ran through, like like a really bad porn film. It's not going to be good.
That's why I say it'd be like a half pay though. Like they're not going to pay those 4 schools full pay in the SEC. 100% agree with you. Like that's
the media rights, but I'm talking about your payout. Like the NCAA,
from the
CFP is going to be huge at 12 teams, a ton of money. And the SEC is going to make a huge chunk of that.
Yep.
So does Alabama, does Georgia, does LSU, Texas, Oklahoma? Do they want to give up a chunk of that for those sorry schools that ain't going to never compete or add to a CFP pot? That's the problem I have. I don't think they want to split it.
I think that
Florida State and Clemson will add to that. They'll make us a playoff. They could possibly win a national title.
But if they get it, that means they're taking that from someone else in the conference. Whereas a North Carolina, Virginia, all those schools, if you're in the conference right now, you don't think they're taking it from you, but you're gaining in other areas like the state coverage. For whatever reasons, I actually think that the SEC does not want 2 schools for the reasons you just said to come in and possibly take over. They've already got Texas coming in, who is now in the CFP. So, and Oklahoma, they might be on a downward trajectory, but I just don't know if they need to add more powers. At some point in time, if you're sitting in there and you're in LSU, you're a Florida, you're the Tennessee, and you're thinking, is this a good thing or is this a bad thing if we just bring in 2 more powers that are in the heart of the South, in that Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, Alabama area where they can get a lot of recruits. I think that's empowering Florida State and Clemson to do exactly what you said. So if I'm in there, I would want some schools that maybe aren't going to challenge. If you're going to expand, then maybe you don't want them to take your spot.
I just don't know if they want dead weight. To me, that's what those are. They're just dead weight in the SEC. I think they're wasted. I think there's in the Big 12, there's opportunity for them to compete for something. SEC, no. There's no opportunity in the SEC. There's opportunity to get paid, but you ain't winning nothing.
Yeah, I think the SEC expansion is defensive. I think the Big 10 is the offensive one in all of this, and they've wanted into North Carolina for a long time. Now, if they'll take Florida State now, but if SEC does nothing in the future, doesn't do anything after that, then the Big 10 can expand down through Virginia and North Carolina at their leisure. So I tend to think it's defensive because that is the plight of the SEC. They have decided to be a regional superpower in football. And when that's your decision, you have to protect your turf. And I don't know if you can protect Florida State. They made a decision that's pushing Florida State pretty much in one direction. But you can deny the Big 10 having a direct route right down to them all down the East Coast. So I think that's pretty important.
I look at it as a wrestling analogy. The Big Ten is trying to be the WWF here, and the SEC is the NWA. They're stuck in a regional territory, the South, Southeast. The Big Ten is going nationwide. They're getting all the big stars. They just signed USC, Washington, and Oregon. They're getting ready to sign Florida State out from under the SEC. I just think that's the way this is going. I think the Big Ten eventually ends up at 24 teams, simply because I think Fox wants it to get that big, and Fox is Big Daddy to the Big Ten, so they will do what Daddy asks them. SEC perhaps looking for more AAU influence and doormats. I think Immaculate, you covered that pretty well. That you got to have some winners and losers in conference. For every Texas and Oklahoma you bring in, you got to bring in a North Carolina State and a Virginia Tech and a Virginia.
But if they're looking at that, then why would they ever agree to like a 32-team super conference with all the biggest brands?
No, I don't believe in it. That's why
I don't either. But
yeah, you're not going to find any talk about that here. We are staunchly against that. I know who you're talking about when people are saying this, and it's all fear porn, in my opinion. It's it plays upon people's emotions and their fears and their worries. And we're going to do this if you don't do what we say, and that's going to, it's probably going to end up being full autonomy for the autonomous conferences. That's what they want. Write their own rules. They're not going to separate and form some tiny little league that loses a third of viewership. It's a terrible business decision.
Yeah, I always thought it sounded stupid.
It is.
But guys, I got to get out of here. I got to go cook grill dinner before the new year.
Thanks for stopping by. I'm happy New Year.
Appreciate it. Anytime, guys.
Absolutely, man.
All right.
Come back again. Then there were two.
Wow. And then there were two. And we're an hour and a half in, basically. We got 64 viewers. If you guys would hit that like button. If you're not a subscriber, please go ahead and hit subscribe and turn on your notifications. If you'd like to become a member, we offer several member benefits, including making me dress up like an asshole. Click the join button from our homepage. I would just we've done the year 2025. Let's really get deep in the weeds here.
Okay.
Let's get to 2029.
Oh, you're going out. I hardly get past 2026, but okay.
Okay. Who is where in 2029?
I think you're going to actually see a little bit of movement from the Big 12 to the Big 10. Think you might see another one, maybe go to the SEC from there. It's going to be quite a bit different if the autonomous conferences get their full or near full governance from the NCAA. And I think that's going to happen this coming year. I think just like how they got a deal back in 2014, in order to get the autonomous conferences to exist, they're going to do the same thing, and they're going to actually get all the power that they wanted since back then, 10 years later. Conveniently enough. And that's when that happens, you're going to see them make all kinds of rules, because in the NCAA, you can really only get rules passed one time a year, which is this coming month, by the way. We really need to watch that coming up next month, see what passes there, what gets talked about being passed there, and then what doesn't pass. Because sometimes what doesn't pass is just as important because it can cause other things to happen. So I think you're going to see a lot of that. I think the ACC is going to be have moved out all of its public schools. It's going to bring in the Ivy, and then they're going to bring in some other schools that want to be part of that, and they'll carry the brand. They'll carry whatever deals they make for a while until the Ivy and some others like Johns Hopkins can build up. And they're going to basically have their own rules, and they're all going to want to seat at that A4 table for the larger rules. Because that's changing a lot. They're not going to have no scholarships anymore. It's just going to be entirely different rules for everybody. So, I think it's going to be an A4. We're going to get a lot of consolidation in the G5s. Schools are going to be trying to come up from the FCS. They changed that to 5 million because they know that there's a bunch of schools that are looking at that. That's a tax. That's just a tax. You don't put a tax on something if you're not going to actually get much sold, because then you don't get taxed. So you're going to see the G5s probably go crazy, absolutely crazy once this happens. Once the A4 gets their rules, they're all going to be merging up and trying to get their chances to get those odds. Just like the AAC cannot let Liberty continue to reside in the CUSA. It will be an automatic for them almost every year. They'll just outbuy everyone else in the G5. Like, it's not even fair. So it's just going to be a lot of movement. We're going to see 24, maybe 25. I like 25. You like 24, but I'd say right now, I think 24 is it. Teams per, we're going to have new division rules. So, 4 or 6 teams per division. We're going to have conference playoffs where the SEC and the Big Ten are making buku bucks, huge bucks for selling that. And instead of having to worry about all the drama about them having too many spots in the CFP, it'll just be like, nope, we all get the same amount in the CFP. That's one champion. And then they'll sell their own conference playoffs for a whole lot more. Sorry. Big 12 will still do pretty good, though, because that's going to be, who knows, every year it's going to be a toss-up. So I still think that they do well. The ACC probably is all dealing with Apple. So who cares? And then the other, whatever's left, whether it be a G3 or G4, they can sell their conference playoffs as well. It's going to be a very different situation. What do you think?
So who is in the SEC in 2029? That's not their.
Well, UNC, UVA, NC State, Virginia Tech, going a little crazy. I think Vanderbilt's not going to maybe not be there by then. I think they'll be going into that ACC Ivy League thing if that happens. That leaves an extra spot. So who would you want to bring over? I think if you're them, you look at whoever is starting to become a threat out of the Big 12, and you take them. And I think that's Oklahoma State, because it also gives you a big rivalry game with Oklahoma. I think the Big 10 probably takes Kansas. They might need, if they go with 6-team divisions or 5-team divisions, they'll need at least 1 or 2 more out west, which is why I think they might just be going to 24 and do 6 divisions of 4, because then they don't have to. It's just cost-wise trying to get these schools out of the Big 12. They've put up a pretty big exit fee there now. So I think if they lose those 2, so what 2 are you replacing there? I think that's, Oregon State, Washington State, that might be their best chance to get into the Big 12 is when the Big 10 and the SEC take their last 2. I'm also, that's why I was saying I think USF might get in before them, but we'll see. I think that's pretty much. I don't think the SEC ever goes past 20.
I don't either. I don't either. And what I see happening is, and I've said this for a while now, Texas A&M is going to leave the SEC. I think they're going to stick with Texas for the length of this contract, and then they're gone. And I think they're an instant pickup for the Big Ten. Huge media market, Texas. The Big Ten wants to put their footprint there, national brand. I see the Big Ten adding Florida State, Miami this go round, going to 20. In 2029, I could see them expanding to Notre Dame, Kansas, Georgia Tech, and Texas A&M. And that gets you to 24. You've got 4 on the West Coast still. You're right. You can do 6 divisions of 4 pods. You can do some kind of pod-based scheduling, but I see the Big Ten getting to 24. I see the SEC staying at 20. The SEC is going to backfill that Texas A&M loss with Clemson. I think that's the point where they take Clemson. Or they could take, who knows, maybe a West Virginia. I don't know. Just putting that out there. They could try and move up to the Appalachian Mountaineer State as well. So,
yeah, and to that, if Vandy's leaving the SEC, I also think Northwestern's leaving the Big Ten, and I also think that Johns Hopkins is leaving the Big Ten as well for that conference if that Ivy ACC actually happens. So, people may not see that now and think that's real, and that's fine. I mean, it's a pretty out there idea, but they're all in a class action lawsuit together, where they're all colluding together to set prices. So they've been dealing with each other very closely already. So they're probably
Devil
talking.
Frog brings up, I think the big takes Texas before they take Texas A&M. I would just say if you can't be with the one you love the one you're with, and Texas A&M would probably be the available one in that situation.
Yeah.
Moen in the last four gives Notre Dame the national conference it needs to give up its independence. I believe so. Notre Dame is going to sit out this media deal, and then they're going to join somewhere. I think it will be the Big Ten. I think it'll make too much sense at that point. You'll have four conferences. I think the ACC takes Oregon State and Washington State as backfills this round. Once Florida State and Miami leave, I think those are the two backfills they take. They make good travel partners for Stanford and California. Makes the most sense there. Big 12. I think the Big 12 picks up Louisville, Pitt, Syracuse, UConn. Beyond that, I don't see them expanding beyond that. And then obviously when they lose Kansas or Oklahoma State, they will have to pick up some other teams elsewhere. I don't know. Who do you have them picking up if they lose in Oklahoma State?
Well, that's where, like I said, if they lost two, I'd say Oregon State and Washington State.
Okay. You think?
Yeah, it's just over anyone else. I think they just have the highest value, in all purposes. I think they just, if they were going to 18 right now, I think that those two would be the two. If they weren't, looking at the ACC, if there's two more spots right now that were just there, that's who they would do. So I think if you're losing two in the future, then you're looking to regain that. Like when they lost two before, they had to take four G5s in order to match that value. If you just want to grab two to replace the two of the go, then Oregon State and Washington State are your obvious two picks for that.
Fair enough.
And like Arizona State, someone else brought them up in chat too. They do have a lot that the Big Ten would look at. I just don't know if their in-state situation would allow them to separate with Arizona. I don't know. It could be the same type of a problem that North Carolina has, where they have one board that rules over both. Now, they said when the Big 12 thing was going on that they weren't going to stand in the way. So I could see them maybe letting Arizona State go off to the Big 10. But that's if they need another West Coast team, like if they're going to go to 5 divisions of 5, or if they're going to have 4 divisions of 6. But for now, it's hit or miss.
Devil Frog seems to agree with you that they may be interested, and Notre Dame may be interested in spearheading the ACC Ivy merger.
Their brand will always be on top. Whereas if they come to the Big Ten, there's going to be a lot of good teams in the Big Ten. If you're Notre Dame, you kind of got to look at that and go, we might rise to the top of that, or we might fall to the middle. Whereas with this other idea, they're already super heavily involved with these other private universities and a whole bunch of shit. So, someone gave them their AAU status. I don't think it was the Big Ten. If it was the Big Ten, they'd have been joined already. So I think that might be their thing with Duke and Stanford.
Hidden Hawaiian. I don't think I've seen you before here. Hidden Hawaiian, thanks for joining us. I think the Big 12 might go after Duke for basketball. I've seen this posited in the chat a couple of times. Could you explain why you don't think that Duke would be a good fit for the Big 12?
I think from the Big 12 standpoint, if Duke was open to it, I actually do think that'd be good. I think that Duke and Stanford are bosom buddies. They're both in the IPLC together. They are brothers from another mother, one on each side of the country. Now that they've come together, they're with Notre Dame. I think that those are actually the three powers right now in the ACC of schools that aren't going to leave, that are looking to see what they could do with the ACC. Like some people were saying Stanford to the Big Ten. No, same reason. That in terms of research sharing, joining the collective there. Duke and Stanford are part of the Ivy Plus Libraries Consortium, so they're all tied in with the private universities and doing that. I think that they would want to build that conference into their conference. Like the IPLC would become part of that conference, just like the BTAA is part of the Big. Like, and it would be bigger. It would actually dwarf the Big Ten's association by depending upon who all they bring in. So I don't know. I just think that's the play. So I don't really see Duke for the Big 12 as being available.
I tend to agree with you. I think they put more emphasis on academics even over their basketball program.
Yeah.
I think they want to be with those other private universities. So that's great basketball ad for the Big 12. I don't disagree with you there, but I think that they can probably get teams that want to be there a little more in Syracuse and UConn and still get you the same basketball value. Duke to Tucson, Duke to Salt Lake City. Yeah. The school that benefits more than any other is Rice. Well,
I answered them in chat. Like, they are Ivy League grade. They have a history. They have a 70,000 plus stadium that I do believe now have plans to renovate and update and upgrade. You're not doing that for the AAC, and the Big 12 is not grabbing them. So who's talking to Rice? I think someone already is, and Rice would, as a Houston school in that conference, yeah, that's a no-brainer. They're grabbing them. So I think that they've had some talks. And like I said, Rice is part of that class action lawsuit against those private universities. So they're in cahoots. They're in talks.
Yeah, you answered that right there. Rice, Tulane. Tulane would be another big one, I think. Arnon God, I think I'm pronouncing that right. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. The biggest loser in the pack collapses Utah. They poured their heart and soul and ego into the Big Ten.
I'm taking a shot right there.
Yeah, taking a shot at Utah when Wild Utah isn't here. But
yeah,
I will tell you, Utah was on the list. They at least made the list. They didn't make it beyond the velvet rope, but they made the list.
Yeah, they're worthy of looking into. It's just, then it comes down to you're in rare air and you're competing against some solid competition, so to speak. So,
Devil Frog here letting us know Rice announced and met a $1 billion athletic initiative in the winter of 21.
And use that as an example. When people think, well, what would Harvard be in football? Like, why do people think that they would do any good? They have so much money. If they decide that they just want to buy a team, within 3 years, they might win the CFP. It's if all that money comes together in one conference and they all decide to actually start to do it, be careful. A team like Rice might rise up real quick.
Yeah, well, we'll see about that.
I mean, it's a new age, man. It is a money age.
Sergeant Pickles brings up this. I think we discussed this on the last show as well. Playing the bowl games as week one season openers, more time for fan travel and no opt-outs. I think that only works if the conference assigns you to bowl games. I don't think it should carry over from, if Ohio State misses out on the 12-team playoff, I don't think they should be matched up with the team that was ranked last year, because the way these turnovers on teams are happening could be a completely unbalanced game. I think it would be much better if you're going to do that to move it and have the conference assign it. Raider Vision, another member, but you don't see Utah getting into the Big. I don't. They were on the list for the West Coast, but they got left out, and I think the Big Ten is very happy with all the West Coast. I think any school west of the Rockies is cut off from the Big Ten at this point. I think
quite frankly, they kick the shit out of the teams that went to the Big Ten too often. Like, if those teams are saying, if we're going to pick up one more school or so from the West, you think Utah's the one that they're saying they want? Probably not. And to everyone else, you'd have to look at them and say, we don't care what you think. Utah stands out that much more than everyone else. And when you can point at an Arizona, when you can point at an Arizona State, it's just that's tough for Utah to get in. I think they would have had to get in that first round. Just my opinion on that.
Yep. I don't disagree with you. I think that's just they've got the four they want. That's their Western Division. You got
Yep.
it. That's it.
And if you got to add any more to it, it's supplemental. It's not someone that's going to come in and kick all their asses. And that's what they think when it's Utah, because that's exactly what Utah did. So, sorry.
Boise State has to get rid of the blue field. I agree. I actually agree. It's one of those things that they're not going to be taken seriously. It's a cool gimmick, but like right now, nobody's taking me seriously because I'm wearing a Mothman costume. Immaculate, they're taken seriously, but the members of this channel mean so much to me that I'm wearing a wool Mothman costume.
Yeah, but people in the know, if they know to pay attention to what you're saying for various reasons.
For various reasons, but I've been called a radiated cockroach tonight, a reindeer, shithead. That's how much the members of this channel mean to me, you guys. So thank you to all the people who are members and who voted in that poll in the member section. I hope you got everything that you paid for with this costume tonight. I am sweating my balls off. I'm a fat guy. I sweat naturally anyway, but this wool costume has me sweating. Wonder if the big could ever consider Rice to get into Texas.
I mean,
pay us $1 billion. I mean,
if that
ACC
help. Thing with whatever doesn't happen, I wouldn't be against. I'm not saying I'm for that, but I wouldn't be against contemplating that the Big Ten would do that. It's Houston. It's a school that would add a lot to the academic research side of things. I just think, if they were to do that, I think they'd look at Texas A&M and go, "Are you sure?" Because if you're Texas A&M, you might do that just to block Rice from doing it. Because if Rice is there, they're actually in Houston. I don't know if you want that to right there in your backyard to be a Big Ten team.
I've wanted to call this out forever. There are 69 viewers watching right now.
Nice.
Hit that like button. I'd like us to at least hit 69 likes on the stream. Oh, now we went up to 70. Okay. That's fine too. I appreciate that. But I've always wanted to call out that we had 69 viewers on the channel. So thank you for everybody viewing tonight and doing that for me. Ryan says it doesn't make sense for Notre Dame to stay Indy. The highest seed it can get is 5. It can't get a bye. You're correct, but when it comes to Notre Dame and making sense, those are, things that don't happen.
I think they decided that there's so much volatility right now that they want to see how things go. So they were given another 5 years by NBC to try to make their little thing work with the ACC. And if it doesn't, then NBC can help roll them into the Big Ten and probably at the same time have first picking rights to Notre Dame, whereas Fox has first picking rights to everyone else.
Thank you for the super chat, Ryan. It means the world to us, keeps the lights on around here, keeps me in heavy wool costumes for y'all. Raider Vision, thanks for everything you guys do. Well, we do our best. We're the best at what we do. We just don't know what it is yet. Jan Hulk, Happy New Year from Slovenia to all. He is actually living in the future right now. He is in 2024. Most of us are still in 2023. I like your comment here. Rutgers is finally paying off. They beat Miami. Yeah, that's another thing from bowl season. That's one of the feel-good stories from bowl season that you actually like. Seeing a team like Rutgers upset a Miami.
At this point, is it even an upset? I mean, I know people tend to think of a school in terms of its past and not its present, but I don't think Rutgers, this is just a one-year fluke. I think that this is on a slow build.
Two Master, I have no idea what that means, but thank you anyway. Appreciate it, brother.
Snowballs?
Snowball none? Snowball none? Pokemon none. Pokemon none.
Anyways, it just looks cold.
I remember when Rutgers and Louisville used to be in the American Conference. I remember when Rutgers was ranked number 2 in the country. Anybody remember that?
No. I don't remember much about Rutgers.
Boise State is outspending SMU, BYU, and TCU on academics and close to outspend Baylor. They have been adding a lot of research to their programs. You might be right, but I think the other thing it holds against them is the geography. They're in Boise.
But also, you're talking about research. SMU, BYU, TCU, and Baylor, they're not really trying in that regard. So, I mean, if you had said that Boise is outpacing them in, in like academic ranking and things like that, okay, maybe. I mean, but just outpace them in spending, I don't know exactly what that means.
I hope that Notre Dame does not keep their seat at the CFP table going forward. Could not agree more. They already have a seat at the table. It's their ACC. They're an ACC team as far as I'm concerned. They have representation on the CFP.
I don't think they will in 2026 and beyond. Well, they will temporarily. I think 2029 they'll be phased out of it. They'll be told make a choice.
When do we finally get a big SEC crossover for week one? That's real big dollars. Well, Sergeant Pickles, you're in the club now. You guys can make that happen. Call your AD right now and say, we want Bama week one. Unfortunately, I don't think that'll happen.
Especially if you guys beat Texas and then beat Alabama for the championship, the SEC is going to want nothing to do with that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's still the case, but Ohio State has a home and away scheduled, or a home and home scheduled with Alabama. As far as it's still on. It hasn't been canceled yet. And you've got Michigan versus Texas next year. That's at Texas, and then the following year it's at Michigan. So you've got some Big Ten SEC, man. I mean, Michigan, Texas, that's nothing to sneeze at. I mean, Boise State beat Florida State.
As a brand, I mean, Boise State's one of the premier G5 brands. There's no doubt about it. We're just saying, like, I'm sorry, your field hurts my eyes when I watch your game, so I tend to not watch them. You can like it if you like it. I mean, that's cool. I appreciate that you guys like it. I just think that if you really want that on TV, you guys used to be on TV a lot, and not really anymore. I would change it.
Ryan brings up another great point. I know you can appreciate this. Nebraska hasn't been relevant since they joined the Big.
We've been busy kicking their ass.
It's true. As bad as the West has been, Nebraska's been at the bottom of it.
I don't think that's going to stay. I'm worried. I'm genuinely worried. I'm not happy about what I'm seeing. And that's part of why I've been such a vocal critic of what's been going at Iowa, because they're not preparing for the future, and Nebraska is, more so than maybe anyone else from the West, even Wisconsin.
Awesome Lawson. He remembers that Rutgers team. They beat number 3 Louisville the week before. You're right. And then they lost to somebody. I think they lost to Pitt, maybe. Yeah, they were number 2 for like a week. It happened. I remember. Greg Schiano, young guy.
It was a thing.
He was almost he was allegedly the 3rd choice at Michigan, and he turned them down. That's before he went to the Buccaneers. Yes, geography. Market is smaller, too, on Boise State. I mean, hey, Boise State's a fun game to watch, but it's like vacation. It's a nice place to visit, but I wouldn't want to live there.
They're one of those programs that I want to be good at a G5 level, so that whatever we have in the future, that G5 representation is good and solid and can actually get wins. So that's what I want Boise State to be, because I don't think it's going to rise higher than that. So I hope that they get back to where they're beating big teams and being a spoiler. So
yeah, that was the absolute worst loss forever for a Louisville fan. Kept us out of the BCS championship game, the first and only one we have sniffed in football. My question to you, Lawson, is if you remember, who did Rutgers lose to the following week? Because I know they lost like the next week. So It was like everybody's like, Rutgers is number 2. And then they lost. Yeah, Wisconsin versus Bama, home and home next 2 years. I'd forgotten all about that.
Why
I'm
did
sure
they?
Tony loves that.
No idea why Wisconsin would do that. It's like, yeah, well, just
money.
it's like having an automatic loss. Like, why would you do that? Of course, Alabama picked Texas thinking that was going to be an automatic win for them. Maybe it won't be.
Should be a big SEC football challenge. Well, I think we found out from the rankings this year there will be. It's called the College Football Playoff.
Ouch. Careful.
Well, I mean, honestly, it was what, 9 out of the 12 teams, 10 out of the 12 teams would have been.
That's why I don't think it's going to last in 2026 and beyond.
Yeah.
There's going to be some major controversies. It's going to be different, yet the same.
A&M and Virginia Tech would be good for each other, being big engineering schools. And from my understanding, Texas and Virginia consider themselves sister universities. Well, that just dropped Virginia, in my opinion.
They are. UT, Virginia, UNC, they're all the first-tier public Ivies. They very much do. And, in fact, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Texas, Virginia, and UNC become like a little voting block within the SEC in the future.
Wisconsin plays Bama at Camp Randall next year. If Luke Fickell doesn't figure out an offense in the offseason,
he needs to get that shit down.
It's going to get ugly. Going to get ugly.
Especially when the ex-Wisconsin head coach is offensive coordinator at Iowa and possibly heir apparent to taking over. Oof, that's going to be a little bit of bad blood there when that happens.
Hopefully this time UW won't get a neutral site week 1 against Auburn in Atlanta. Well, ask the Oregon Ducks how it feels. They had that neutral site game in Atlanta against Georgia. The Rose Bowl should be the Big Ten SEC now. Thanks for stopping by, Opie. I think the Rose Bowl should be the Big Ten championship game moving forward.
Yeah, because the Rose Bowl itself does not exist anymore. It is completely and entirely encapsulated within the CFP now. It was only every other year before, so on the opposite year, they could have their Big Ten pack. But it will be part of the CFP every single year now, so the whole conference tie-in thing is gone. So, it is a place where we maybe could hold the conference championship game. But I don't know. That stadium, that area, I don't know if that's the best choice for that. Because that's a huge conference event.
Two masks like this. Boise is cute, just not leave your wife cute. Yeah, I mean, it's nothing against Boise. I mean, but it kind of is what it is. A&M is Land, Sea, and Space Grant University. Okay. They'll be a great Big Ten university. I think it was West Virginia. Now, we've got enough West Virginia fans in chat that could answer this. Was West Virginia who knocked off number 2 Rutgers? Because for some reason, I want to think it's Pitt. And I know how you guys feel about Pitt. Okay, here we go. They lost to Cincy and then West Virginia. So there you go. Oops. Is that when Brian Kelly was coaching Cincinnati?
Sounds
90
about
degrees in Madison for the Bama whiskey game. Yeah, it's going to be hot and sticky if it's the first week.
Yeah, but Bama's kind of used to that. I mean, it's pretty hot and sticky down in Bama.
Fickell should have stayed at Cincinnati. I couldn't disagree more. He had to move up. I
still think it's a good pick.
Yeah, I think it was a great hire for Wisconsin.
Yeah, like it's just he doesn't have all of his weapons, and he's trying to create a new offense, a new style with the old guys. So, you general rules, you give them 2 to 3 years to start to show you something. So I don't judge him based upon what it was this year. It was, it's kind of ugly, but now he can get in his players, and Luke Fickell can recruit. we don't really know what Wisconsin's going to be. I would just think you'd want to play to your strengths within the state where you can get yourself a big line and you can bring yourself running backs. Trying to go full on air raid, that doesn't make sense to me, but we'll see what he does.
Big championship tournament locations: Vegas, Indy, semi, Rose final. The only problem I have with that is I think if you're going to have a conference semifinals, higher seeds should get home games. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it should be an on-campus game.
Yeah, and they would definitely want to do that because they would want their higher ranked teams to have the advantage to actually move on. They would 100% game that situation like that, I think.
Ryan did not want Fickle as head coach. He wasn't impressed this year. I think you covered that. You got to give him a few years. And listen, Fickle took a Cincinnati team to he's the only person to take a G5 team to the CFP.
He's a
Nobody
good
else
coach.
has done it. He's a good coach.
He's a really good coach.
Only need 3 venues, and I promise Rose Bowl is better than Coliseum. Yeah, even though UCLA can't sell it out. How about Indianapolis, Minneapolis, and Los Angeles? Yeah, I would like to see it rotate as well. Indianapolis, Minneapolis, Los Angeles.
If Chicago would have had a dome, I think they would have used that, but unfortunately that's an outside stadium.
And if we add Florida State, you could add Atlanta to that too, just to piss off the SEC.
Yeah, just get UT, and then there you go. We'll just do it in the dome right there in Atlanta. Make it the Big Ten state. Oof, there would be some angry people if that happened.
USC's final out-of-conference game versus Notre Dame is 2026. You might be right. I couldn't imagine they're going to keep that on their schedule with all the strength of the schedule increasing and the travel that's going to be put on USC, unless Notre Dame wants to play at USC every single year. Vegas is a nice stadium and stupid easy travel from anywhere in the country. Yeah, I don't disagree.
I think that it's going to be one or the other, though. I don't think you get both LA and Vegas in 1 year from the Big Ten, which mostly wants to look east, not that much to the west. So, if it's Vegas, sure. I just don't think it's going to be Vegas and LA both.
Yep. Well, it's almost 9:00 here, guys. We've been on for 2 hours. Can you believe it or not? We hit a high of 84 consecutive viewers. Thank you guys for that. I appreciate that very much. I'll give you a clap. Let's see what we've got on the sound drop board here tonight.
Me, I want what's coming to me.
Or what's coming to you?
The world, Chico. And everything in it.
And that's why they're going to take Miami, because they love Scarface. I couldn't share that before. I'm sorry, people, but that's why it was going to happen. So, any parting words, Immaculate?
Enjoy the CFP. This is our little reprieve. Whomever you want to root for. But after that, all hell's about to break loose. We've got so much coming in 2024. You got the ACC. We've got multitudes of law cases that all have to get figured out, settled. We've got the restructuring of the NCAA. There's a lot coming, and it's going to be very emotional for a lot of people. So enjoy this. It's the last of its kind, this 4-team, and after that, it's going to be a different future. So happy New Year, guys.
Sergeant Pickles with a late super chat. Thank you, Pickles. Much appreciated. Happy New Year, all, and go Dogs. I agree with you, go Dogs, but I still think Texas is probably going to beat them. It's say hello to my little friend. And Immaculate, go Hawks. That's what I'll leave you with. Go Hawkeyes tomorrow.
That might be the game to watch, folks. I'm just telling you, if you want to watch Tennessee get shut down, there you go.
Well, from all of us here at the Big 12 Mafia and the Moen Show, I want to wish everybody a happy New Year. Please, if you're going to drink, don't drive. Nothing more annoying than drunk drivers. Don't be an asshole.
Be
We will
safe.
see you guys probably on Tuesday, I guess, for the next Big 12 Mafia show.
Think so?
We'll,
Yep.
we'll wrap up the college football semifinals. So I want to thank you guys all again. Appreciate you for everything you've done for us in 2023. I love you guys, but if you make me wear a wool costume again, my
Gonna have
God,
problems.
we're going to have problems. So with that, peace out.
Adios.